Hi YouTube, it's Kathy and this is my weekly entertainment wrap-up for July 7th through 13th. This week I read 2 books, I watched 1 show, and I listened to 2 books. First this week I finished my pre-order of Bury Your Gaze by Chuck Tingle. She's right up here and she's beautiful. This book centers around Misha, who is a writer in Hollywood. He predominantly writes horror-based things, be that a movie or a TV show. And as we go through this book, you come to find out that a lot of his creatures that have been the most impactful were actually based on things that happened in his childhood. That means we get this blend of the weird things that are happening in the present day, as well as these flashbacks, and you can kind of see where these characters came from. As this book starts out, Misha is going to another meeting on the Harper Brothers lot, and basically this executive he's known for years is telling him that the board has run the numbers and he has to change how he's going to end his season. However, Misha's like, hell no, I'm not doing that because 1, I've been laying all of this groundwork for this exact thing to happen at the end of this season, and 2, I'm not following the bury your gaze trope. He's given a certain amount of time to either rewrite it or not, and in the interim, he has these people just kind of show up in his life who seem to be these horrifying creatures that he created. And amidst all of this, there's also this conversation about AI art that started on like the 8th page, and I was already horrified by that point. And altogether, this is just a masterful book. I absolutely enjoyed my time with it. The other book I read with my eyeballs this week was When Among Crows. This one I picked up because I think my best friend sent me a TikTok being like, this is a great book, you should read it kind of thing. And because my best friend seemed really jazzed about it, and because the person recommending it was like, it's hella queer, read it, I was like, alright. This one is an urban fantasy set in Chicago but heavily steeped in Polish folklore. And had I known a little bit more about Polish folklore, I probably would have been a little bit more into this. It does kind of explain these different creatures that are living amongst humans in this version of Chicago, but because I had never heard of some of these creatures before, my brain was trying to formulate what they would look like while also trying to go through this plot and figure out what was going on. And honestly, I didn't really care. Like, this was very, very short. It's right on that cusp between novella and novel, because the internet says a novella is up to like 160 pages, and I think this was 165. Although I think technically it has to do with word count, but I'm not going to count all the words, so I can't tell you. In any case, yes, this was queer, and it did have a couple of twists and turns going that I didn't expect, but also it didn't really impact me all that much. I am, however, interested to learn more about Polish folklore, so if you have any recommendations around that vein, let me know down in the comments below. The one show I watched this week is a lot of episodes of Criminal Minds. This week I started from the 6th episode of the 1st season, and I went all the way to the 21st episode of the 2nd season. We're still in the realm of time where I've seen most of these episodes before on TV at some point, be it when they came out or reruns. And even if an episode doesn't feel immediately familiar to me, half the time as soon as I see the unsub, I'm like, ah yes, it was that person in the corner over there, not even trying to be part of this scene. So that's the thing my brain does. It's like, ah yes, let me ruin this episode for you because you know exactly who did it. There's a lot that happens just in the 1st season. For whatever reason, I didn't realize that we actually met Spencer's mom by the end of the 1st season. I thought that was a later reveal, so that was interesting to see. And then of course I've gotten past the part where James Van Der Beek definitely traumatizes somebody in the cast, so we're dealing with that situation right now. There was also quite an interesting episode that included Anton Yelnats. May he rest in peace. He was very tiny in this. He must have been 16 or 17 when he did this show. And overall, I just find it really fun to be like, oh my goodness, it's that person, but they're really tiny, because this show is from almost 20 years ago at the point when I'm watching it. And by that I mean I'm into episodes from like 2006, 2007, maybe right now. As for the audiobooks I listened to, something a little bit funny happened from my reading from last week to my reading this week, because last week I finished reading a book called Thirsty, which I really, really enjoyed, and then literally the next day it was time for a new audiobook, and I already had this audiobook on my phone for like a week and a half before I got around to it, and it's by the same author, and I did not realize that until the audiobook started and the narrator said the name of the author, and I was like, wait, I just read a book by Hammonds, what are you talking about? This audiobook was We Deserve Monuments. This book centers around Avery. Her and her family have actually just moved to this very, very small town because they got word that her maternal grandmother has cancer and she isn't doing so well, so they basically moved in to help her out and possibly be with her during her last few weeks of life. Avery's only met this grandmother once, and she was about 5, and she doesn't really remember that visit, but when she gets there, she starts getting these flashbacks of that visit. She knows that there was like some screaming and some yelling, and she remembers being on an airplane, but that's basically all she remembers. Now she's desperately trying to get to know this woman who is family that she doesn't really know, but at the same time her grandmother is a very grumpy and very private person, and she doesn't really want to open up to her. In addition to this situation, her mother and her grandmother fight all the time, which is why they haven't spent more time together. She just wants to know why, and she wants them to stop. In addition to this situation, there's a girl who lives next door who's grown up knowing her grandmother this whole time, so she's basically like, yeah, I understand she's basically a cactus. She's very prickly, she's very hard to get to know, but she also blooms beautifully when you get to know her. As it turns out, this girl, Simone, can pick the perfect flower for basically anyone. Simone and her best friend Jade basically take Avery under their wing. They all become best friends. They're having some great times because they all go to the same school, and slowly things about their history and the town history come to light, and it goes from there. There are definitely some hard topics in here. There's a little bit of a romance. There's looking back on a relationship that ended because the person that she was dating was racist. Avery finds out so much about her family history, and there's something that you learn right at the end that I definitely didn't see coming whatsoever. So unfortunately I've read both books by this author, and I only say unfortunately because there aren't any more that I can pick up, because I would in a heartbeat. The other book that I listened to this week is something I've been putting off for a couple of reasons. One, it's really, really long and I thought it was going to take me a while, and two, it's something on my 40 before 40 TBR and I would have to vlog it, and sometimes I don't feel like vlogging. But because I just vlogged for the whole month for the Queer Lit Readathon, I was like, okay, I can do this. I'm in the groove still. I can vlog this book. Let's go. I expected this to take like a week to read because it's 17 hours of audio. I read it in 3 days. The book in question is Empire of Pain: The Secret History of the Sackler Dynasty. This is a book all about the Sackler family, 3 generations of their history, and how the way they marketed OxyContin when they first put it on the market changed the landscape of the world, but not for good. This is the type of family that didn't really like to tell people where their money came from. They never put their family name on their products, on their various businesses. However, they really liked putting their family name on like art museums and galleries and all of these things, all of these philanthropist things. So everybody could be like, ah yes, the Sackler family, what a wonderful family, always donating to the sciences and the arts. However, this family did not come from money. We start with these 3 brothers. The first one goes to medical school, tells his little brothers to also go to medical school, and before he's a doctor, he's really good at advertising, and unfortunately he marries these things together, teaches his brothers how to marry these things together, and sometimes the claims they make aren't accurate, to the detriment of thousands of people. From there we've got a couple more generations of children from their various wives, and it can get very complicated, but this family is rich beyond belief. Their most profitable product by far has been OxyContin. And at no point have they ever said that what they did with this drug might have maybe been wrong. This is narrative nonfiction. It's researched incredibly well. It will have you just wanting to continue reading or listening to it because it is just so compelling, and like I said, I finished it in 3 days. That's it for this week. If you've read, watched, or listened to any of these, let me know about it down in the comments below. On the way down to the comments, if you hit that subscribe button, that would be very nice of you. If you don't feel like leaving a comment but want to make sure that I know you were here, just leave me an emoji or a smiley face if you happen to be on your keyboard. Some people have asked if there's a way to financially support this channel, so I set up a Ko-fi account, which is a digital tipping service. The link for that, as always, is down below. You can like and share this as you see fit, and I will see you very soon. Bye!